I'm Steve Jenkins. I'm the cheesemonger here at Ferry Markets.
And how long have you worked in the cheese industry?
Oh my goodness, I started in 1975, but I didn't get to Fairway until 1980.
And you had some dealings with the American Cheese Society. When did you become involved with them? What was your
It's
first
been so long I don't remember, but it was around for a number of years before I got involved. Had to be early 80s.
And I know you were a judge in Boston. Was that your first time judging?
I don't remember my first time. I think my first time was in California, but that might have been the American Dairy Goat Association. It's all fading together. When you get my age, everything all fades together. Perhaps Boston.
Okay. Well, I read that you were a judge in Boston, and I was hoping that you might recall something about that conference or about judging cheeses this would have been 1987 or 88. What were the cheeses like, and what were your impressions of American cheese?
I've got to be honest with you, I don't remember that. I don't remember it very well. I remember Vermont, and I remember Wisconsin, Madison. Help yourself, man. Help yourself. My book, Cheese Primer, came out in '96, and it was the first time there was ever a detailed chapter about American cheese. That I remember very well. And that conference where I was really, really adamant that 3 specific cheeses be given best of show. And I think all of my fellow judges agreed with me because they did. Mike Gingrich's cheese and a couple of others. That was a wonderful time. That was in Madison, though, as I recall. No, it was in Vermont. It was in Burlington. But the one in Boston, I vaguely recall. I'd have to be reminded of a few things that happened in Boston.
I know that there was cheese making on the town square. Some Swiss guy.
That sounds familiar, but it's not provoking any memories for me.
Well, the other story about the 3 cheeses as best of show was very good as well. Maybe then, let's see, where am I here? As far as your early perceptions of ACS and its mission and its goals, what were your thoughts at the time?
Well, the early days were like a bunch of hippies. It was sort of just a grassroots effort at getting the word out. And it was a bunch of non-New Yorker hippies. You know, we're so egocentric about New York, we think that everything revolves around here. What it did for me was make me realize that there's 50 other states in the Union, and it's not all about New York City. And out there, it's not all these sophisticated urbane people. It's a bunch of regular folks like I used to be before I moved here. And that there was a much greater audience than just this very competitive New York City audience. So for that reason, it was really important to me. It was great that we had Ari Weinzweig and Gerd Stern involved, and so many other people that still are around. And it just really enervated me. Or no, that means enervated means you get very tired. It energized me to really want to champion the American stuff, and not just because I'm an American, but because I was so attached to so many of the great American cheeses, and they really didn't have anybody to sing their praises. Out there in the country, it's much harder to get publicity than it is for us in New York here, where we're so wired into all of the journalists and all the food writers and all. So it became a mission for me to get the word out. I've always been, by golly, offended that chefs are given all the credit for getting the word out to Americans as to what it is they should pay attention to, when it's really never been that way. It's always been the great retailers that have gotten the word out to Americans. So I made it my mission to debunk this business of chefs seemingly driving everything, and I certainly gave them and heaped upon them tons of scorn every chance I got at not paying attention not just to cheese, but to American cheese specifically. American chefs paid no attention to American cheese or cheese at all. So it became, because I like I like the negative. I liked heaping scorn on all these fancy schmancy chefs that didn't take cheese seriously and just, it was an afterthought to them. So I made it my business to write a really good chapter in my cheese primer about American cheeses. And as I say, that was really the first time anybody ever did that. And that really took a lot, I think. I'm not bragging, it's just the way it went. A lot of people saw that and realized, hey, there's a lot of good American stuff out there. And that was a great, great, joyous thing for me to be able to help get that word out there, because, you know, the American Cheese Society is not about the retailers or the chefs. It's about the people that make the cheese and do all the hard work and are trying desperately to keep it going. And that's what I responded to, is to try and help those wonderful people keep it going.
Absolutely. Fabulous. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. So how have you seen this fledgling grassroots hippie organization grow and change over these last years?
It's just amazing how incredibly popular all the American cheeses have gotten, even since my idiot book came out in '96, Cheese Primer. Since then, it's just mushrooms, just billows of publicity and interest and fervor for American cheeses, and it's just like walking on a cloud. We're so proud of all you American cheesemakers, we just don't know what to do. So we're in a really, really great place, because those of us that are in a position to talk to journalists and stuff, we always say, look, American stuff is every bit as good as the best stuff that comes to us from Europe or any place else. And that while we used to say that American cheese and cheesemakers are at a point where American wine workers were 20 years ago, it's no longer the case. And now we're at the same place that American winemakers are today. We make among the best cheeses in the world. And that's just amazing that we did it in such a short time.
I've got 3 minutes on my table. I'll change it out after this next question. What are or were do you think made it so that in such a short time we could see that kind of growth? What were the factors that influenced that, do you think?
It was concomitant with a period of a few years where Americans learned to love to entertain at home, rather than thinking that they had to go out to some dopey restaurant and pay way too much money, as opposed to inviting the people they love to be with into their own home and serving them things that made them feel good about themselves, i.e. things that are made in America. Because we decided we don't need to serve imported French and Italian and Spanish stuff all the time. Why not serve stuff that comes from our own country and our own people? People bought into that, great idea. They wanted to support the local stuff. There's a cheesemaker near everybody now. So everybody everywhere that's serious about food and serious about being with the people they love, they want to support the local cheesemaker. So that made it so that the local cheesemaker couldn't make cheese fast enough. And in summary, it's just really that people wanted to be with the people they love to be with and serve stuff that's made in America or made close by, made in the same state, because it tastes so good, and they learned the tactile pleasure and the visual pleasure of serving a cheese with funky cutlery and a nice piece of wood and a nice piece of marble or something, and accompaniments that come from the area. It's just the most fun thing in the world. There's just nothing more fun, and that became an easy thing to communicate to people, and people bought it, and here we are.
Nice. So look into your crystal ball, 10, 20, 30 years from now. Where do you see ACS and the cheese industry?
I see it beginning to consolidate into long-standing, established cheesemakers that really have begun to build a heritage for American cheese. It'll only get stronger. There'll be a lot of newcomers coming up, much like it is today. But in 20, 30 years, there's going to be a pantheon of American cheesemaking superstars that really have changed everything. And meaning they changed it today in 2008, and from 2000 to 2008, that's where we really began with our great heritage of cheesemaking.